There's a difference between a tablet and a tablet. The new iPad Pro 13-inch M5 and the Galaxy Tab S11 Ultra are two of the biggest and most powerful slates you can get your hands on. They're basically the Cadillac Escalade V series of the tablet world. We'll take a deep dive into the design, display, performance, battery, and cameras to uncover what truly sets these two giants apart. Guess what? You can now become a channel member. You'll score epic perks like member badges, exclusive emojis, priority replies, and even early access to our videos so you hear our silly jokes first. Just tap the join button right under the video. Oh, and here's a special shout out and a big thank you to Coopster226 for being our first Ultra member. The first thing that sticks out is how the iPad invites you to use it vertically, while the Galaxy Tab is meant to be used horizontally. The Galaxy also has a slightly larger footprint compared to the iPad. However, both sport aluminium casings with flat sides and sharp edges. The iPad is definitely easier on your wrists, coming in at 580 grams, whereas the Galaxy is a beefier 701 grams. Only the Galaxy comes with an official IP68 rating, just like most flagship phones. That means it's completely dust tight and can handle being submerged in water up to 1.5 meters deep for 30 minutes. So no worries about missing a single millisecond of your favorite show, even if you're on your way to Atlantis. So as always, let's check in with the team and see who likes which design best.
The Galaxy.
The Galaxy.
The iPad.
The iPad.
The iPad.
The Galaxy. What about you?
I'm also gonna go for the Galaxy. Alright, let's check out these massive displays because that's probably the main reason you'd want one of these big boys in the first place. The iPad rocks a 13-inch OLED display with an anti-reflective coating. The Galaxy sports an even bigger 14.6-inch AMOLED panel. Both of them support a 120Hz refresh rate. The main difference, however, is the aspect ratio. The iPad uses a more square 4:3 ratio, while the Galaxy is way more panoramic at 16:10. We threw them under simulated sunlight at over 100,000 lux and measured the typical high brightness using a full white screen. Interestingly enough, not only were both tablets neck and neck at around 1000 nits for typical brightness, but they were also practically identical for peak brightness at about 1700 nits. For security, the iPad uses Face ID with the sensors located on the long side of the slate. The Galaxy goes with an under-display fingerprint scanner, however, it is an optical one, not ultrasonic, which is kind of an odd choice for a device this pricey. Now, for even more info on screen specs, feel free to pause the video right here. Overall, both of these panels are absolutely amazing and they get super bright for both indoor or even outdoor use. The Galaxy's aspect ratio definitely has the benefit of giving you much slimmer black bars when watching movies, while the iPad, on the other hand, benefits from Dolby Vision support, anti-reflective coating, and slightly higher HDR brightness. But the square shape is more for note-taking than content consumption. But of course, a great screen is totally useless without great speakers, so let's hear these out. Both tabs come with 4 speakers, basically one on each corner. Now here's an audio sample for you to check out.
I'm a little too into you. Got my head over my shoes, but I like it, I like it. I'm a little too into you. Got me up over the moon, but I like it, I like it.
So we personally think the Galaxy sounds a little bit better than the iPad. It blasts higher volume levels and voices come through much clearer. The iPad is not as loud and sounds just a tiny bit more muffled. By the way, we've noticed that a ton of you guys are loving our videos, which is totally awesome, but you haven't hit that subscribe button yet. Don't worry, you can fix that by smashing that button just below the video. Oh, and if you end up falling in love with either of these tablets by the end of this video, we've got direct links ready for you in the description below. Alright, now it's true that basically nobody buys a tablet because of the cameras, but let's still take a quick look at them anyway. On this side, the iPad comes with a 12-megapixel sensor, while the Galaxy offers 1 extra megapixel. As usual with Apple, the iPad photos look a little warmer and have more punchy contrast, while the Galaxy looks more natural and actually captures more detail in the shadows. In low light, both of these pads start to tank in quality, so it's totally up to your taste which one you think looks best. The Galaxy is the only one that throws in a second camera, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide shooter. The iPad, on the other hand, packs a lighter sensor instead, which might come in handy for 3D scanning. This is the kind of pic you can expect from the Galaxy's ultrawide. It's not going to win any awards, but it might be useful when you can't back up enough to use the main cam. You can even see here that the low light performance on that ultrawide isn't totally terrible either. Portrait mode is usually present in every single phone nowadays, but not in this iPad. The Galaxy, on the other hand, does include this mode just in case you need to use it. Moving to video, the iPad can film at up to 4K 60fps while the Galaxy maxes out at 4K 30fps. The iPad also lets you film in ProRes in case you really want to look like a professional tourist. Oh, and as a quick note, all of our videos in our reviews are filmed at 4K 30fps. In well-lit rooms, the iPad is a little more spot on with its colors, but for exposure, the Galaxy actually looks a bit better because the iPad tends to be a bit too bright. In low light, both have a ton of smoothed out noise, but the Galaxy really cranks up the saturation, which makes its video look kind of radioactive. Between the two, the Galaxy is also the only one that lets you film in cinematic video, but only at 1080p and 30fps. The iPad, just like the budget iPhone 16e, completely lacks this mode. With its ultrawide cam, the Galaxy is also limited to 1080p at 30fps, but again, at least it has a second cam. This ultrawide isn't fantastic for video, but it could come in handy at house parties or birthdays. Although in low light scenes, the noise reduction is so aggressive that there's practically no detail left. Oh well. Finally, let's look at the front cameras. You'll find 12 megapixel shooters on the long side on both tabs. It's nice that both are basically ultra-wide cameras here, but the iPad looks a little better to us because the Galaxy lifts shadows too aggressively on faces. But for low light, it's the total opposite. The Galaxy manages to gather way more detail and has less noise compared to the iPad. For video using these front cams, the iPad is limited to 1080p 60fps while the Galaxy is capable of much higher 4K 30fps. Even though we have some important differences in photos, the video quality on both is pretty similar, which is great because most of us use these cameras on tablets for video calls. So now let's test out the audio on both of these tablets because that's a very important feature. Let's start with the iPad over here. What do you guys think? How do I sound? Is it good? Is it clear? And moving on to the Galaxy, is it any better than the iPad? What do we think? As always though, let's discuss it. So for the mics, it's pretty much the same story as the video quality. Both record clear voices without stuttering or any heavy echo. So if you ever plan on using the cameras on your giant tablet, just know that the Galaxy will give you much more flexibility with its dual camera setup. For the front cameras, which you'll probably use the most, both are solid, though the Galaxy does have a slight edge in low light performance. But with their sheer size, these tabs should also be carrying a ton of raw performance, right? The iPad is rocking Apple's brand new M5 chip, but there are actually different versions of this chip. More on that in a second. The Galaxy is packing a MediaTek Dimensity 9400 Plus. For RAM, both of our tested units come with 12 gigabytes. For storage, both start at 256 gigabytes, but the Galaxy maxes out at 1 terabyte, while the iPad can go all the way up to 2 terabytes. However, the Galaxy has expandable storage via a micro SD card, which can get you an extra terabyte of space. You can check out all the other RAM and storage options available right here, though availability might depend on where you're buying. So about that M5 chip on the iPad, if you get the 256 or 512 gigabyte storage versions, you're getting a 9-core CPU paired with 12 gigabytes of RAM. But if you want the best chip, you have to shell out for the most expensive 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte configurations, which get the better 10-core M5 chip and 16 gigabytes of RAM. The Galaxy's SoC is the same across the board, but you only get 12 gigabytes of RAM in the lower trim versions. You need the 1 terabyte configuration to get 16 gigabytes. In the States, only the iPad supports cellular connectivity, but in most of the rest of the world, both tablets offer 5G. Anyway, to really see what these tablets can do, we'll throw them into some real-world testing starting with gaming. We'll run 30-minute sessions with cooldown time in between. First up, Grid Legends in graphics mode. The iPad can by default reach a maximum of 60 FPS, but we had to modify the preference file on the Galaxy to unlock those FPS since it's capped at 30 by default. Both tablets actually held their FPS pretty well, although the iPad briefly dipped down to 40 FPS while the Galaxy only hit a minimum of 46. Still, their temperatures were pretty similar. Next, we launched Wuthering Waves and cranked the graphics all the way up. Both were able to hit a maximum of 60 FPS here, but this time the Galaxy dropped the most FPS to 50. The temperature difference was bigger here, with the Galaxy being 8 degrees Celsius hotter than the iPad. Moving on from gaming, we exported 99 photos in Lightroom. The iPad absolutely crushed it here, finishing the render in pretty much half the time the Galaxy took. Next, we rendered a 3-minute 4K 30 FPS video in CapCut. The Galaxy came roaring back for revenge because this time it was the one finishing in half the time. But now let's check out some benchmarks. In Geekbench 6, the iPad scored almost double the Galaxy's score in both single-core performance and multi-core. In fact, the multi-core score of the iPad is the highest we've gotten so far. In 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme stress test, the iPad straight up demolished the Galaxy. I mean, its lowest loop score was still much higher than the Galaxy's best loop score. And Tutu scores are OS dependent, so we can't really compare them directly, but just for reference, the iPad basically scored a whole million more than an iPhone 17 Pro Max. On the other hand, the Galaxy actually scored lower than the Galaxy Z Fold 7 with the Snapdragon 8 Elite. So in real life, both of these pads have more than enough muscle for gaming or even intense stuff like video editing. Just keep in mind that the iPad with the 10-core M5 might perform even better than our 9-core unit. And while the iPad wipes the floor with the Galaxy in benchmarks, let's be fair, when was the last time you actually ran a benchmark on your own device? So that was hardware. Now let's dive into software. The iPad is running on the iPad OS 26, while the Galaxy is rocking One UI 8 based on Android 16. For software support, you can expect 7 years of both software and security patches from both of these, even though only Samsung officially states this number. Naturally, multitasking is a huge deal on these huge slates, and iPad OS has definitely borrowed a page from Mac OS. Now you can open and resize apps in a proper windowed mode or use Stage Manager. Plus, you get a menu bar up top for managing your open apps when you're using a mouse. Of course, you still have that familiar taskbar where you can just drag and drop to launch apps or see your whole app library. On top of this, you get the same personalization capabilities as on other Apple devices, along with some AI goodies like the Playground app and Siri with Google and ChatGPT integration. However, you're completely lacking visual intelligence for searching content on your screen. But while the iPad has made big changes in multitasking, the Galaxy is still 1,000 miles ahead. You can use it like a giant phone, or you can grab and drop apps onto different desktops like you would with a computer. Here, apps automatically open in windowed mode, and you can stack and resize as many as you want. You also get a much wider list of AI features like drawing assist, sketch to image, and circle to search, among others. However, the one limiting factor on the Galaxy side is still the lack of professional apps. It's true that more pro tools like LumaFusion are starting to appear on Android, but Apple has had heavy hitters like Procreate, DaVinci Resolve, and Logic Pro for a long time already. So if you don't mind finding decent alternatives, you can totally give the Galaxy a chance. But now let's move on to our last category.
24/7.
Both of these tabs pack massive batteries, but the Galaxy takes the crown for size at 11,600 mAh. For wired charging, the Galaxy peaks at 45 watts, while Apple doesn't give official numbers for the iPad. In our charging test using a 100 watts charger, the Galaxy was the first one to fill its huge battery in just 1 hour and 31 minutes, peaking at 42 watts. The iPad took a bit longer, clocking in at 1 hour and 48 minutes, though it did hit a higher peak of 56 watts. Now, let's not kid ourselves. These portable TVs with high-end chipsets slapped inside are definitely not cheap. The 13-inch iPad Pro in the entry-level configuration starts at $1,299, while the Galaxy starts at $1,199. That makes the Galaxy a straight $100 cheaper than the iPad. That's money you could totally use to grab 8 whole kilos of these nuts. However, you need to know that the Galaxy includes the brand new S Pen right in the box. For the iPad though, you're going to have to shell out another $79 or $129 for the fancier one. If you feel like squeezing your wallet dry even more, both Apple and Samsung offer up a ton of first-party accessories like simple cases, cases with keyboards and trackpads, or even paper-like or anti-reflecting screen protectors. Up to you how much you want to spend. Alright, so a pro tablet without actual pro level apps is going to hit a wall fast, and that's a fact. That's why if you plan to use one of these slates for heavy duty video editing, professional painting, or anything super demanding, the iPad Pro is absolutely the one you need to grab. However, you've got to keep in mind that the pencil isn't included in the box, and the basic configuration has that less powerful 9-core M5 chip. So you're definitely going to have to shell out even more cash to either finish your setup or get the absolute best performance. The Galaxy Tab, on the flip side, is hands down a productivity and multimedia powerhouse. Its panoramic aspect ratio, combined with that sweet micro SD card support, and the fact that the S Pen comes in the box, makes it ready to roll from the second you unwrap it, all at a lower price compared to the iPad. However, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Android is still seriously lacking a bunch of those critical professional and drawing apps that would truly make this the definite tablet. So what do you think? Are you team Apple or team Samsung? Let us know in the comments below. If you're looking for something that's a little easier on your wallet, make sure that you check out our review of the iPad Air 13 versus the Galaxy Tab S10 Plus and the OnePlus Pad 3. And before you go play your favorite game for the 100th time, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed this video and hit subscribe, as we're always testing new devices to help you make the best choice. We'll see you in our next video, and until then, take care.